I must have been around 10, maybe 11 years old. It was a weekend, and my cousin was spending the night at my place. I remember I didn't have school the next day. Every time he stayed over, we did the same thing. We dragged 2 mattresses into the living room. It was the only TV in the house, and played my PS2 until one of us fell asleep. It was really late. Everyone else was already sleeping. It must have been between 1 and 3 in the morning when I got up to grab a soda in the kitchen. Even though it was dark, the kitchen was right next to the living room, and the TV light was enough to guide me to the switch. The only problem was that once I stepped inside, near the fridge and the cups, I couldn't see the living room at all. I had no view of my cousin, who was still sitting on the floor playing. While I was pouring my drink, I heard him talking to someone. His voice was normal, like he was having a regular conversation. He said something like, "What are you doing? Stop being weird." Then I heard a faint laugh. It didn't make any sense to me. I thought he was talking to himself or to the game. I grabbed the soda, turned off the kitchen light, and started walking back. The second the light went out, he went completely silent. Then he asked, sounding a little scared, "What was that?" When I stepped into the doorway with a soda in my hand, he looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. His eyes were wide, his face pale. He slid backward across the mattresses, trying to get away from me like I was something dangerous. He pointed at me, shaking, asking what was going on. I just stood there staring at him, confused. I even let out a nervous laugh. I was just a kid, and I thought he was messing with me, and told him to stop. But he couldn't stop. Still terrified, he swore that I had walked out of the kitchen earlier. He said I had been standing right next to him, not moving, just staring at him without saying a single word. And that's why I heard him say, "What are you doing?" while I was still in the kitchen. According to him, the moment the light went out, the other me disappeared. Back then, I didn't take it seriously. I told him to quit acting weird and went back to playing. But he didn't touch the controller again. He stayed away from me the whole night, curled up on his mattress, watching me like he was trying to figure out if I was really myself. Now, looking back, I don't think he was joking. It was the only time I've ever seen him that scared. And the worst part is, to this day, he swears he was talking to me before I actually walked back into the room. A few years ago, I was at a park with a friend. It was a weekend, so the place was packed. Kids running around, people talking loudly, couples taking pictures. Everything seemed completely normal. We were walking through the crowd when, out of nowhere, my eyes locked onto someone a little farther ahead. A girl. And she looked identical to me. Not just similar. Identical. The hair, the face, the way she walked. Even her posture was exactly the same. For a second, I swear it felt like I was looking at my own reflection, except there was no mirror anywhere near us. The scariest part is that she saw me too. She stopped, turned her head toward me, and stared with this confused expression, like she was trying to figure out what I was. I froze. I remember the feeling so clearly. My stomach dropped, my hands went cold, and I couldn't move at all. The first thing I did was look at my friend. My voice was shaking when I asked if he was seeing the same thing. He went pale. He pointed a little and said, "Yeah, I see her. She looks just like you." After that, we both went silent for a long time. We didn't say anything else. We just stood there, trying to understand what had just happened. It was one of the strangest and most unsettling experiences of my life. And even now, I still remember the way she looked at me, like she was trying to figure out which one of us wasn't supposed to be there. Thinking back on it, I should have walked up to her, asked her name, or something like that. But the fear hit me so fast that I couldn't think straight. I've never seen my own doppelganger, but my dad and we've seen his. It happened once at a grocery store near our house. My dad and I were standing in line at the meat counter, talking about something stupid from earlier that day, when we both, at the exact same time, turned our heads to the right. That's when we saw him. Far down the aisle, between the shelves, stood a man who looked exactly like my dad. Same haircut, that little quiff he always adjusts with his hand. Same light denim shorts. Same bright orange tank top with a basketball on the front and an English phrase printed across it. Same skin tone. Same posture. Same facial features. He wasn't just similar. He was close enough to fool anyone, but strange enough to send a chill down your spine. I felt my dad freeze beside me. He had noticed it too. When we finally got out of the line, we went straight after the guy. We walked fast through the aisles, checking every corner, every section, every face. There was no way we wouldn't find him. His clothes stood out way too much, and he had been right there. But he was gone. We searched the entire store. Up and down the aisles, past the dairy section, the drinks, back to the meat counter, near the registers. Nothing. It was like he disappeared the second we realized he existed. I still remember the weird, heavy feeling in the air. Me and my dad walking around quickly, scanning the crowd like two lunatics, while the store kept moving around us like nothing strange had happened. But we saw him. And to this day, my dad swears that the man, that other him, was staring right at us before he vanished. About a year ago, I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom right next to my bedroom. The door was half open, and from where I was standing, I could see my brother lying in my dark room, just like he always does at night. He was talking to me, answering my questions, chatting about normal, everyday stuff. Nothing seemed strange at all. When I finished brushing my teeth, I walked into the living room, and I almost dropped the toothbrush. My brother was there, sitting on the couch, watching TV like he had been there the whole time. For a few seconds, I just stood in the doorway, trying to understand what I was looking at. It didn't make any sense. There was no way he could have left the bedroom, passed right by me without me noticing, and made it to the living room. There was no other path he could have taken. I saw him in the bedroom. I heard his voice coming from there. And yet, he was here. When I finally managed to speak, I asked him if he had been in my room just a minute before. He looked at me like I was saying something completely insane and said no, he'd been in the living room for several minutes. I told him everything I had seen, step by step. His face changed immediately. We both sat there on the couch, quiet, with that growing, heavy kind of fear sitting in our stomachs. Neither of us wanted to go back to the bedroom. It took a long time before we worked up the courage. When we finally went in, the room looked exactly the same as before. Untouched, dark, silent. But there was something there, a heavy, uncomfortable feeling, like someone was standing in the room with us, watching us from some corner we couldn't see. Nothing strange happened after that night, and I'm grateful for that. But the feeling that stayed, the cold that crawled down my spine, I'll never forget it. And to this day, I still wonder, who exactly was I talking to in that room?